Hi all, my name is Jewel. I'm with the Paul and Stephen Spiritist Center, and we're doing our weekly talks. And this week we're going to talk about forgetfulness of the past, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. I'm not doing a live this time, but I will do it again as live in 4 weeks next month. Today's topic may be a little bit kind of more bookish or reason and scientific-y, but that's partly because we're using, instead of the regular book that we use, which is the gospel, which is more sort of religious and spiritual and sort of more emotional kind of connection type stuff, we're talking about a topic inside the Spirits book, questions 392 through 399, and regarding forgetfulness of the past. We normally start with a little prayer to open, and then we'll move on from there. So if you want, you can close your eyes for a quick opening prayer. Dear God and Jesus and all the good spirits, our guardian angels, thank you so much for this moment to focus our mental attention on the spiritual work. And we would like to open with our Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, now and forever. Amen. So, again, welcome. This topic today presupposes that anyone listening either has the concept or understanding of reincarnation and believes in it, or at least is familiar with the concept. But I'm just going to quickly go into the concept of reincarnation before I talk about forgetfulness of the past, because it's talking about forgetfulness of memories or things that happened in previous lifetimes and why that is. So for those of you who don't know much about reincarnation, there are many sources that are talking about it from a scientific standpoint, both spiritist, which is what we're about, Christian Spiritism in the Paul and Stephen Center, but also from outside sources. So one of those outside sources is this book by Gary Schwartz. So there's plenty of evidence of life after death here. He's a fellow with a PhD who studied spirit communications, mediums who are very advanced, and he did many experiments with them, scientific ones. There's lots of scientific evidence out there. This is a spiritist source, but it's from, I think the author is a spiritist, Gabriel Delane, and he wrote this book, Evidence for a Future Life. And within it, on page 82, is an explanation of a spirit named Katie King. And I don't know that all of these men of science and education were actually spiritists, so it may be a collaboration spiritist and other than spiritist type of source to look at. There's lots of sources. Katie King is really interesting. It's one of the most famous examples that I hear about in the spiritist circles about a whole bunch of men of education and science in the, I think it was early 1900s, possibly late 1800s, who had a spirit manifest for them for a couple of nights a week, materially, for more than a year. So they would all gather for a couple of nights a week and experiment or record things that were happening, ask her questions and whatnot. So this happened, and there's all kinds of documents about it. You can Google that. Other references. You could just Google kids who've remembered past lives, young kids who remember past lives, tons of documentation on that, them remembering details when they're very young of who they were, what they were wearing, where they were at, what they were doing in past lifetimes. There's lots of that. So point is, reincarnation is a thing. I Googled before I got on here today uh, to show me science that proves that the afterlife or life after death for us doesn't exist. And when I Googled that, all I got was stuff about how it does exist. Lots of scientific things proving that it, like trying to prove that it does exist. So my thought there is there's a whole lot of smoke going on the one side, and there's nothing. It's totally cold on the idea that in terms of scientifically, they can't really prove scientifically that it doesn't exist. There's a ton of evidence and experiments and things that were done, by some pretty reasonable people to prove that we do die and that our souls live beyond the death of our body and that we do return to learn more lessons and keep evolving this way. So just thought I'd get that out there. And before moving on to this topic, forgetfulness of the past and why we don't remember things from previous lifetimes. So that's what these points, I'm just going to read 392, 393, and 399 I think are most relevant, but if you feel like it, you can go into the Spirits book, which I showed you. I think I showed you this one, and read more of those questions if you want to do that. Question 392 from there, the answers to these questions are a compilation of answers from high-level spirits who have been tasked to come and help us to understand more at this sort of period in human evolution. So Allan Kardec put that all together with his helpers and kind of weeded out the stuff that wasn't logical or reasonable or true, and with using scientific methods, compiled all the ones that were scientifically he was able to could sort of affirm, and made a compilation of those. And these answers that you hear in these questions are from the high spirits answering the questions that he put to them. So question, I'm going to read it. 392 says, why does the incarnate spirit lose the memory of its past? And the answer here is that human beings cannot and must not know everything. God, out of divine wisdom, wills it to be this way. Without the veil that hides certain things from them, they would be dazzled, like one who passes suddenly from darkness into the light. By forgetting their past, they are more fully themselves in the present. It makes sense to me. If you could see the whole picture all at once, be kind of well, for me, I take a little spiritual tourist break from real life when I connect to the bigger picture. But it's sort of, I forget who I really am and what I have to work on, and I fall back down into real life, and so it's not like something you can live with on a long-term basis unless you're evolved enough to do it. So I think what they mean here is that if you can see the whole bigger picture, you can't really work on the things that you haven't evolved inside of yourself. And that's one of the reasons I think they're saying this here. If you can see all the beauty of the bigger picture, it would be very hard to actually work on what you have to work on with your free will and your need to, the law of progress, your need to progress yourself. That's how I interpret that question. The next question, 393, is how, I'm not going to read all the question because I think the first part is the most important part. How can individuals be responsible for their deeds and redeem their wrongs if they cannot remember them? So they're saying, where's the justice in that? I mean, if they can't remember, how are they supposed to make better choices if they don't remember what they did in the past? Is the gist of that question. And this, the answer to that was that with each new existence, spirits gain more intelligence and can better distinguish between good and evil. So, where would be their merit if they remembered their entire past? um, when the spirits enter the life of origin, the spirit life, that means when they disincarnate from their bodies, their entire previous life is unfolded before them. They see the wrongs they've committed and which are the cause of their suffering, as well as what would have kept them from committing them in the first place. They understand the justice of the position assigned to them, and they thus desire a new existence that can redeem the one that has elapsed. They seek trials similar to those they have already experienced, or struggles they believe will be appropriate for their advancement. So we get to see it all when we leave our bodies, and we can see where we sort of might have progressed and where we goofed, and we'll be able to see what we need to do, uh, which is great. I'm going to continue reading. They seek trials similar to those they have already experienced. So it's like, if you didn't do it right, go back and do it again and again and again and again until you start to learn. But each lifetime, as it said here, we gain a little bit more intelligence and understanding about good and evil. And so each time, even though we are not allowed to remember what happened in the past, we have a developing intelligence that will help us to make a better decision each time we come up with this trial that's made just for us to progress our soul to higher levels. So this we ask the spirits who are of a higher order to help us in our new tasks that we're going to undertake when we reincarnate, because we know that the spirit who will be given to us as a guide will endeavor to help us repair our wrongs by the past by giving us an intuition about them. This same intuition is the thought, the wrongful desire which frequently assaults you and which you instinctively resist, most of the time attributing your resistance to the principles you have received from your parents. However, it is the voice of conscience speaking to you. This is the voice of this voice is a memory of the past. It's a voice that warns you not to fall into the errors you committed previously. In this new experience, if a spirit endures its trials with courage and resists them, it evolves and will ascend into the spirit's hierarchy when it returns to be among them. I thought this was super interesting when I was reading it the first time, and the second and the third and the fourth time. I love this actually, because it's so easy, even for advanced people who study, spiritism or any kind of philosophy that helps them evolve. It's so easy to forget that our parents are not the reasons we are the way that we are. We chose to incarnate with them because they were exactly the parents who needed to bring out whatever it is in us that we need to fix, that we need to work on, that we want to improve. And I had a great time remembering that. It's really hard because a lot of us, not everybody has, every family has some kind of dysfunction going on. But even for people who are aware of it, it's hard to remember. And so that's a good reason for continuing to read things and talk about things and pray for understanding, because that's, part of progress and taking responsibility, understanding we don't remember, but we ask for these trials over and over again. So it's not really our parents that did it to us, it's us who chose those parents to give us the blessing of difficulty to then go out into the world and try to use our intuition and whatever intelligence we can feel inside of us from our past lives, even though we don't know what they are, to make better choices in life, to try to be better than what we were before. Anyway, I think that was a really, really great part to read again. So if during our corporeal life we do not have a precise memory of what we were and of what good or evil we did in our previous lifetimes, we nevertheless have an intuition of them. Hence, our instinctive tendencies are a reminiscence of our past, about which our conscience, which represents the desire we have to conceived to no longer commit the same wrongs, warns us that we must resist. So I'm reading from question 399 now. Just a sec. Since the tribulations of corporeal life are at the same time expiations for past wrongs and trials for the future, does it follow that from the nature of these tribulations we may deduce the kind of preceding existence we lived? The answer is very frequently, because individuals are punished for their particular sins. Yes, it's very frequently because individuals are punished for the particular sins. I don't like the word punished, but this is an older version that I'm reading from. It's more like a consequence. I think we don't. I don't think of us as being punished. More like living out consequences, and we're choosing this. I don't think we're really being punished. We're choosing to do this. Each time we're about to reincarnate, we're making up a plan, and we're making the choice, getting support for that, and kind of taking on the consequence ourselves. This is going to be hard to take for some people, but at a certain stage, you start to take more responsibility for what you're choosing in your life, and that can be a little contentious on some subjects. But from the standpoint of today, and me having just gone over it myself and applied it to my own life, and all the difficulties and everything that have happened, it's in life, it's really great to know that you're responsible. You're not really being punished so much as taking the responsibility on yourself with the goal of attaining a higher, more loving, blissful existence. If you can advance your soul to a certain level, you don't have to experience all of this this level of learning anymore. And so that's, love and advancement is kind of the goal. And I think that's what I'm trying to get at. But anyway, so the instinctive tendencies are more of an indication because the trials that a spirit undergoes refer as much to the future as to the past. So we're not just paying for what we've done to other people in the past, but we're also trying to make ourselves better. I believe that's what that means for a future life. We all know what we have trouble. If we think about it, we know we have trouble with patience or acceptance or pridefulness, anger. These are negative tendencies that we want to work on while we're here, because we can't take that to the higher levels of bliss and happiness and helping other people from that place until we work on that stuff inside ourselves, which is what we're doing. And we can sort of tell what we've taken on in life, even without remembering our past lives, according to our tendencies. We may have developed some patience, but we know about the little part over there that we haven't developed, and that can tell us a lot about troubles we had in past lives and what we need to work on and why we're here doing it now. There's a discussion here that at the end of 399, a little bit long, but I'm going to read it anyway since I skipped some of the other questions. When the end that Providence has marked for their errant life has arrived, spirits choose for themselves the trials to which they desire to submit themselves and which will hasten their advancement. So that means when we're about to reincarnate, as we mentioned before, that we choose for ourselves the trials that we desire to submit ourselves to, and to help us grow and become better as a soul. It's just it's kind of liberating if you can think about it like that as much as possible, because it makes all this stuff that you're dealing with easier to look at from sort of a bigger picture view like that. So that is the kind of existence they believe most appropriate for furnishing them with the means to evolve. And such trials are always related to the wrongs they must expiate or make up for, expiate. If they, and we're still talking about us spirits, who, if they triumph over them, they advance. If they succumb, they have to start over and over and over. So, that's more motivation to practice working on our negative tendencies. Spirits always enjoy their free will. It is in virtue of this freedom, in the spirit state, that they choose the trials of their upcoming corporeal life. And in the incarnate state, they deliberate over what they will or will not do, choosing between good and evil. Denying humans their free will would reduce them to the condition of a machine. So I think they're trying to say here that our free will is better exercised when we don't know how much we did in the past, how much harm we caused to people. The intelligence and intuition help we get from our higher spirit guides and the intelligence that we develop helps us to use our free will to choose better, good choices over evil choices. And so that's a reason they give for us not being able to remember our past, is we have more merit in the choosing. If we don't remember what we did last time, we have to use our learned intelligence and intuition to make a better choice without knowing, without having a cheat sheet on what happened before, so that we can sort of cheat our way into our better choices. We get more merit this way. Integrated into corporeal life, spirits momentarily lose the remembrance of their former lives, as though a veil hid them. Nevertheless, they sometimes have a vague awareness of them. They may even be revealed under certain circumstances. However, this does not happen except by the will of the high order spirits, who may allow it to occur spontaneously for some useful purpose, but never to satisfy vain curiosity. So there may be some reason why they would let us see things that happened in a past life to help us progress. But if I wanted to go and find out, maybe just for kicks and giggles, that I was a queen in a past lifetime and had all kinds of wealth and was able to tell people what to do and was just having a blast, they wouldn't let me know that necessarily because there's no useful purpose to it. So, of course, future existences cannot be revealed in any case, since they depend both on the manner in which the present existence is completed and the later choice of the spirit, the later choice of the spirit. Forgetfulness of wrongs that were committed is not an obstacle to the spirit's improvement, because even though they do not have a precise memory of them, the knowledge they had of them during the errant state, which means between bodies, between lifetimes, in addition to the desire they conceived at the time to repair them, guide them through their intuition and inspire them with the thought of resisting evil. This thought is the voice of conscience, and it is seconded by spirits who will assist them if they heed their good suggestions. Even though people do not know the acts they committed in the previous lives, they can nonetheless always know the kind of wrongs for which they became guilty and what their dominant characteristics were. They only have to study themselves in the present, and they will be able to discern what they were in the past, and not by what they are per se, but by their tendencies. I've been thinking, let's see, there's one. No, I've been thinking a lot about this since we're covering the subject. Somebody who maybe in a previous life killed somebody else in anger might be brought up by the person they killed in a next lifetime, so they can learn to love them and that person can learn to forgive. That's one example. I was thinking of people who, had all that anger. Instead, they're developing their tendency to anger, love for that person. So it's a small step on the path towards overcoming anger, the tendency to anger. And one might have a tendency to not be able to forgive. They've been in a past life, if they remembered they'd been killed by this person, it would be very hard for them to work on that tendency, but they chose this trial on purpose to be the parent, to become the parent of someone who killed you in a past lifetime. Would give you an opportunity without knowing that they did it to practice love and forgiveness. And then when you disincarnate again, you get after that lifetime to have better feelings for each other and helping you improve those tendencies that you have. Somebody may have had reason to kill themselves in another life and be struggling constantly with desires to kill themselves in this lifetime, depression, and but maybe have an intuition, oh no, I can't do that, it's wrong, and not know why, but their intuition tells them, no, not this, I'm not going to do that, no. And they're getting a chance to choose not to do this thing that would be very bad for them and all the people around them. And we keep improving. I mean, these are just a couple examples, but I'm trying to think about tendencies that we become aware of these things and need to work on. There's a reason why we're here experiencing them. And it's not really anybody else's fault so much as we chose to do this. And we're thankfully not able to remember what happened before so that we can have a chance to love the ones who hurt us or make better choices with our improved understanding. Even if we don't remember, we still have that improved understanding. So the tribulations of corporeal life are at the same time expiations for past wrongs and trials for the future. They purify and elevate us if we endure them with resignation and without complaint. The nature of the trials and tribulations we undergo may also enlighten us about what we were and what we did, as in this world we judge the acts of a criminal by the punishment and the laws inflict on him or her. Thus, those who were proud will be punished by the humiliation of a subaltern position or a lower position. The self-indulgent and greedy people would be living a life of poverty to learn the lessons they didn't get before. Those who were harsh towards others would then maybe live a lifetime of harsh treatment. The tyrant who controls other people and treats them badly would then be in a position of slavery or control by those other people or other people to experience what they dished out in a previous lifetime. A bad son or a bad daughter, would become the parent of children who don't respect them, don't love them, never call them or treat them badly. And lazy people would maybe choose to come back and live a life of forced labor where they have to work, even if they don't want to. And that's the end of those points. But the main um, points I got out of that and I thought were the most interesting were that the reason we don't remember our past lives is that we have more merit. We're allowed our free will to choose, where our free will is kind of diminished if we have a kind of cheat sheet of what happened before. We're protected from knowing what people did to us in a past life or what we did to them. We might feel so much shame we can't accomplish our mission if we did something really horrible to them. So that not knowing what happened in the past really helps us in the development of love in all its forms and helping us to evolve and work on our negative tendencies so that we can go higher and higher in love and light, and then be able to help other people get there. Maybe become those guardian angels at helping other people like us get through our tough times, because we can't see what's going on before, but we've got lots of hints and indications and support to get through it. But there are lots of good reasons for us not to remember what happened in the past life. And that's the way God made it. So anyway, thanks for going through this with me. It's been, I haven't done one of these since last year, and so this is my first time to do one, and I'll try to go live next time, and that'll be fun too. Anyway, thank you for this moment, and we'll have a quick little wind-up prayer. So thank you, God, Jesus, all the good spirits, for this moment to consider the concept of forgetfulness of the past and why it is the way that it is, and how it actually helps us to improve, to grow in love, to understand why we experience what we experience, and to be thinking and more connected with our guardian angels and all of the support that we have to improve our situations and our negative tendencies and grow in love to take better care of each other. We'd like to ask that you take the energy from this moment and send it out into the world, into the city, into the country, to all the countries of the world, and to help share positive energy with many, many people who are suffering in this pandemic and also suffering otherwise with many, many issues going on in the world. The pandemic complicating things for many, but also being a point of change for many as well, and awakening. Please send this love energy out to all and help them to feel hope and faith and love, and to know that all things pass and all things will be good again. Thank you so much for your support and your love, God, Jesus, good spirits, and we'll all be back again next week. Thank you so much. Amen. Blessings. Amen. Thank you all. Take care.